Hey there, I'm Aci, and lately I've seen an uptick in comments saying that Subnautica is dead. Yeah, I know, right? Okay, so I thought I'd make a video addressing that. I'm just going to look at a few statistics and things that have been happening lately to determine whether or not I think Subnautica is dead. Spoiler! No. But you can of course form your own opinion after the video. Most people saying that Subnautica is dead or dying usually include that there's no new content or there's no updates, we don't get anything new for the game, and while I think I see what they mean, we just had a massive update adding a ton of stuff to Subnautica. Now granted, yes, that is technically not new stuff since it was all in Below Zero and they just backported it, but it's still new for Subnautica. We have a new massive room, we have new decorations. In Below Zero, we just got a new moon pool for the sea truck. So, no new content isn't really true. But I do see what they mean with brand new stuff for the game. Yeah, we're not getting any of that. Something that I, as a content creator, also noticed is that lately, video views on Subnautica topics have been down a lot. But then again, that happens all the time. We have lows and we have highs when it comes to views. And I don't think this low is anything new or anything worse than usual. There are still videos that get a lot of views, like my size comparison video. And just because they're less than they could be, doesn't mean that the game is dying. That could just be because my video is poorly optimized, I have a bad thumbnail or title or whatever. For example, this one. I really don't know why this one did so badly. I really thought people would be interested in it, but apparently not. But if you are interested, go check it out. So let's look at some actual statistics for the game. This is Steam charts, where you can see how many people are playing Subnautica. You will notice a huge boost in players with 50,000 players as it came out, and then it trickled down, which is probably to be expected. If you look at the last few months, we actually gained a lot of players, at one time even 75% extra players, after the new update backporting the stuff from Below Zero released. Now, I don't think this is a bad looking statistic at all. We still currently average 6,000 players and have a peak of almost 10,000. Sure, it's not as big as when it released, but during release, it's always going to have more players than 5 years later. God, it's been 5 years since Subnautica released. I am old. But yeah, I think for 5 years later, having more average players than just before release is definitely a good statistic. And just for comparison, let's take a look at Subnautica Below Zero. Below Zero has less average players than Subnautica, which is to be expected since it's not as popular as the first game. And according to the devs, it's only a spin-off, so that also makes sense. But even Below Zero currently averages around 2,000 players. Also, massive increase ever since they added the sea truck dock. Even though here's only 25 and 32% increases, but that's still pretty good. We also had a massive spike right when it released of 42,000 players, which is not quite as high as Subnautica, but Below Zero noticeably dropped off more than Subnautica. So even in comparison to Subnautica Below Zero, Subnautica is doing pretty well. So how about we compare it to some other games that are similar? Let's look at Abzu. I think that's how you pronounce it. Now Abzu is, on the other hand, pretty much dead. Sure, it is also single player, but there's not much to do in that game other than play it once. Subnautica has a tiny bit more replay value.
And that's really the thing that matters here. Player retention, which is mainly influenced by replay value. At least when the game doesn't get new content.
So, the average player of 18 currently, yeah, this is what I would call dead. Another game that is similar is Breath Edge. It's often called Subnautica but in space. 60 average players, compared to 6,000 at release, which is a lot less than Subnautica. Now, let's compare it to another survival game that is more similar to Subnautica, maybe not in setting, but in style. The Forest. The Forest, on the other hand, has had a massive uptick in players recently. And the average players at 23,000 is pretty high, with the peak players almost as high as Subnautica's release. What's going on here? Well, I think the main difference here is that the Forest has multiplayer and is easier to mod. I've not played the Forest, so I can't say much about the storyline, but I do think that multiplayer and easy mod access is a huge boost to a game's survivability and player retention, because there's just more stuff to do if you have another person, or if you can have so much new content coming from the community. Yes, we do also have mods for Subnautica, but they are way harder to create because the game isn't made to be modded. So of course, compared to the forest, Subnautica might look dead, but I do still think that 6,000 average players is not dead at all. So why are the numbers down for Subnautica? Well, I think the big things are that it's not a live service game. We are not actively getting new content. There's just the release and the occasional patch, maybe backporting some stuff from below zero. We also don't have multiplayer, so there's no other people to bounce off of and enjoy the game with. And there are not as many mods as for other games because they're just harder to create, so there's not as much new content coming from the community either. It also has a linear story, which means it has low replayability, which leads to low player retention, which is something that's to be expected from a game like this. So I don't think this is anything unusual in terms of player numbers. We still have a decent number of daily players, I mean over 6,000 is pretty good. And Subnautica 2 is already in development, so the franchise isn't dead either. It's just in development and we don't hear anything about it right now, probably because they're preparing for something big. I assume we would get a new big announcement for the game this year. The modding community in Subnautica, while it's hard, is also very active. I mean, look at Return of the Ancients. There's a massive mod in development, which just takes time with a game like this. And that's why we don't hear about it a lot, especially because they just released the 2.0 update, which just made modding even harder, at least converting mods to the new system. Hopefully it will be easier after that, but for now, they just need to do back-end stuff and can't work on new stuff for the mod. So no, I personally don't think Subnautica is dead or dying. I think it's just a natural low between news for the game or new content for the franchise that's to be expected. Let's just hope the next game is easier to mod, gets more frequent updates, or all of those things with multiplayer, just to give it more replayability and more fun for people over a longer period of time. And of course that also means I get more content, which is always great. Talking about content, if you have any content ideas, make sure to join my Discord server and let me know in the video ideas channel, because I would love to do some stuff for you guys that you requested. But what do you think? Do you think Subnautica is dead? Considering you clicked on the video, probably not, but I'd like to hear your opinion in the comments down below. But for now, thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed it, remember to leave a like, and as always, I'll see you next time. Goodbye!